Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yes, I'm just stumbling over myself because I'm super excited about this conversation that we're going to have today. I would love for you to share a little bit about your background. You are an incredibly successful businesswoman, and you have recently begun selling on an international platform that has been one that continues to grow. And so not only are you local, and I say local, I mean by hundreds of miles locally, and then maybe even thousands, and then now your reach is extending, and yet you have this heart for a place that you spent as you were growing up and encouraging and helping people who were there. So let's start with the business part of it. How did you get to be such a successful businesswoman? What was your journey to that point?
Well, my 9 to 5 that I have right now, that I've had for the past Aaliyah's 23, so for the past 22 years is working side by side with one of my brothers, and he has a distribution company, and we distribute throughout Southern California to our CVS stores and Hispanic supermarkets is our specialty. And the two main brands that we work with is Hostess and Little Debbie's. And we just recently, it's just completed a year that we launched on Amazon, and we're selling our delicious snacks from California to New York. And yeah, it's been a beautiful experience working with family and just growing this piece of the business now that which is something new, something totally out of the box for me, but here we are and just growing the new department for the distribution company.
And it really seems like one of your specialties is marketing, social media, getting information out there, creating reels, creating TikTok videos, different things that help people to know where to find you, know what you guys are doing. And you have been able to use that in multiple different venues. But how did you get into that area?
Well, just, in the business that we're in, just reaching out to our customers and just how do we advertise? How do we get more business? Where are our customers? And just knowing that that was the next tool that we were going to need. And as the brands would come to us, making sure that this was part of their toolbox as well. And little do we know, Instagram, TikTok it's not if you have a website now, is what's your Instagram, what's your TikTok, and what are your numbers there? So as a tool, that's something very important to have. And, there's going to be tools as we keep growing and that we're going to have to acquire, that we're going to have to learn something new to get to the next level. And Amazon for us and Instagram and TikTok have been that next level for us.
And I really love that you were talking about the ability to continue to learn because I was having a conversation with a teacher recently who shared once again that 61% of the jobs that the future is going to have, we haven't even begun to create those jobs. And so teaching people how to learn, teaching people how to be involved in technology, knowing that it's going to continue to change, it's not going to be stagnant, and
Mhm.
being willing to take those steps to move forward and then to be able to reach out to other people and have conversations about that. I know that we were recently sitting and talking with somebody, and you were just sharing how, the different ways of being able to share different pieces. And I know that you are so good in Instagram about reposting things from other people that you find to be encouraging or that align with your brand or who you are. And in that process, then that cross pollination that takes place of people going, oh, Delmy is doing this or Delmy is sharing this, then, and I know Delmy and I trust Delmy, therefore I want to go check that out and see if that's something that I also would like to be part of and enjoy as well. So in this, then you have also, with your brothers, uh, had this incredible opportunity to spend time with family through the years. It wasn't something that happened later in life. It was something that your parents really instilled in you. Would you share a little bit about that and your guys' trips in the summer and some of those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, it was always something that road trip that we would take. And, as little kids, we would jump, dad would put us in the station wagon and drive all the way to the Yucatan Peninsula, to Merida, which is the main place that we would visit. And, going to the beaches there and going to the archaeological sites. And at that time, you know, like I've shared with you, just pulling up to Chichen Itza and, there was nobody collecting for parking, nobody collecting an entrance. It wasn't what it is today, but we were able to just drive up and, just explore and not know that we were so privileged to be able to do that. And, Chichen Itza, Tulum, um, seeing Cancun become what it is, we'd go and there was 3 hotels there, it's not the it's not what it is today. So, yeah, we were very lucky that, our parents did that for us, and in turn, our my kids are now learning about it, and part of my journey now is to open it up to others, my heritage, my culture, my ancestors.
Mm. And on that note, I want to take a real quick commercial break. And this first commercial is actually part of your family's, the larger family's imprint and desire to allow people to come in and have an incredible experience and yet be able to protect the land in incredible ways. We'll be right back to have Delmy share a little bit more about her journey in the Yucatan. I have had the opportunity to not once but twice so far and hope to go back again, be at the Aldea Coba. Truly, truly a dream. It's a boutique hotel, 6 different places that are there. But this is so intricately woven into our conversation because part of what you saw in the very, very back was what is called a sock bay. It was the white road, and the white road was there because the Mayans were using it as straight lines, and it was white because they had taken the limestone, they had ground it up, so even at night you could find your way. And that for me is such an energetic tool, such an energetic concept of the things that I'm doing during the daytime, the practices that I have to be successful, the things that are working, for them to not just be things that I can do sometimes, but they can be things that I can ground into, that I can be using all of the time. Delmy, I would love for you to share a little bit about your awakening, your journey into learning more about the gifts that you have.
It's been an interesting ride. And you've been one of my guides, thankfully. Um, and it's just been uh, now I do look back and see there was other dots that were connecting, but I just didn't see them till recently. Um, so in 2018, I had a friend that works at a museum reach out to me and say she wanted me to curate a trip for her. And I'm not in the tourism business, so I wasn't really sure what she was asking for, and I was very confused. But she said, "No, you're traveling a lot," but I was traveling for food shows. And she's like, "I see you're traveling, so you just put something together." I said, "Okay, well, it would have to be in Mexico." Oh, that's perfect. I'm like, "Okay, it have to be the Yucatan and perfect." I'm like, "Okay." And it needs to be cultural and educational and non-touristy. So I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. Luckily, my family is in the tourism business in Cancun, and I called and I said, I need your help, and they said yes. So we put together this beautiful trip. The museum took 12 people, and I put together something that had cooking and pottery and got to visit archaeological sites. And in that, I was able to meet Ihilio, and I was able to meet Amaya. And I didn't know at the time that it was for me.
Yes. It was for you, Delmy. All of those pieces of other people coming into your life and asking you to do something for them that you were doing. Yes, you were traveling around the world for food shows and posting those things, going back to that first segment of using social media. And yet, as they asked you to do this, this became something where you began to see that you had gifts that you didn't know that you had. And I think that that's such an important thing for other entrepreneurs to hear as well. We will work and do things that we think are the right thing to do. We'll be asked by family or other people to come join them on things, and we'll say yes to the family business. and yes, to keep doing the family business. And yet we get to have our own individual personal experiences. And so as you were curating this, putting together these opportunities for them to learn a little bit about Mayan cooking and a little bit about Mayan sewing and the artwork and the clay. And you also then brought in these two different people, Ahilio and Amaya, who I don't know if they knew each other yet, who were both working in the Yucatan, both of them in Coba area, both of them highly gifted and people
Yes.
that we have come to really find to be great leaders in their communities, but also people who are so willing to share their ancient knowledge of the area and the ancient ways. And so, how has that become important for you?
You know, I've been learning about the customs, about the way things used to be done, and trying to cherish it and trying to keep it alive. You know, this beautiful little sanctuary that Helio has and Koba, you know, and he's trying to preserve and he's trying to keep these customs going for the future generations. And just, you know, just a simple thing of planting and preserving certain seeds so that the next generations can have and see certain kind of plants that maybe, you know, if he wouldn't be doing this, they wouldn't be known. And with Amaya, the the traditions and the ways of healing, um, the ways of healing that our ancestors set for us, and having those ways continue. And I had no idea that this was something that was going to be so dear to me as I've been going the last since, you know, the last 3 years, and just continuing to learn each time I go and learning something new. Even at the archaeological sites, even at, you know, that we visit the same site, something new always happens. Something new always arises. You know, some bit of information, a vulture that's at the top of the pyramid that hadn't been seen before, you know, dancing away at the top of the pyramid. And so it's just something beautiful, and you know, something that um I want others to experience, and others that will cherish it the way I do.
Yes. And the vulture dancing meant that it was going to rain.
Yes.
That was on maybe day one of a recent trip. And I would say that on day maybe 3 or 4, it didn't rain. We had the jungle thunder and lightning. We had no electricity for a little bit. It was a beautiful experience. And then to have all of the birds come out afterwards and to be so excited and just rejoicing that the rain had stopped. And so
Yeah.
even just those kinds of little pieces of being aware. I know that recently I have been working inside a lot. And today I found myself opening up windows and opening up doors and sitting outside. I wouldn't necessarily call myself uh, a naturalist. However, just really wanting to be able to have more sun around me,
Mm.
just appreciating that. What are some of the things that you do that help you stay connected to what you are learning from Amaya, from Ehilio, from being with family and going to these archaeological sites? What are some things that you are finding uh, that you're implementing or finding ways to be able to keep those pieces alive for you?
Well, you know, just visiting them more often, um, being in their presence, being in constant communication with them, um, and finding little ways that every time I go to bring something back with me, um, even it being water from a cenote that I can put on my altar.
Yes.
And I had been collecting water from different sites that we would visit on our trips, Phillips and I, ours trips. And I didn't realize all along that this was something that I should be doing. And now, yeah, now with just bringing little pieces back with me, to stay connected with them, and stay connected with Amaya, with Helio, with the land, with the family. Um,
And I would say to our listeners that having a space, having a practice, perhaps even putting time into the calendar or putting something on the calendar that reminds you to just reflect back on can be such a helpful thing for keeping the freshness of that alive. I know that I was changing my phone, the picture on my phone this week, and my phone gave me some options. And I thought, how interesting. And it was the sun setting over one of the waterways that I had seen in October. And it has a beautiful, it's a beautiful picture to have on the phone. And I found that as I'm looking at that, I'm able to connect back into the
Mhm.
feeling of being there and watching the sunset over this body of water. I will also share that for myself, I take pictures that I call memory markers. These are not photographs that necessarily you would blow up to a 18 by 24. They're not necessarily pictures that are in focus and perfectly aligned. These are truly memory markers where I feel an emotion and I want to capture that space for that. And so I take those pictures and hold on to them. And I know that you are an amazing photographer and that you are looking for, you're curating pictures that you are taking as when you are on trips or when you are out for walks or when you are in gardens, and holding on to those and then sharing them later on, putting them together in such a way that other people can be on that walk with you so that you are sharing from the overflow. But I have to think that when you go back or when you're working on making those and putting them together,
Yeah.
that you are remembering what it felt like to be in the presence of those, the different things that you took the pictures of.
Absolutely, and I do, sometimes I think, is it even coming through in the picture? Is it even coming through on this reel, on this post? And then I get the confirmation when somebody says, "What are you doing? Where were you? Where is this? What is this place?" And that gives me the confirmation that I am capturing it, and I am capturing those special moments that are making these beautiful memories.
Mhm. So when you look at how many reels that you have and how many photos that you have on your phone, do you have a certain way of organizing those? Because whether somebody's organizing their calendar or organizing their photographs or organizing um, papers into folders or papers into folders, for that process of how do you go about doing that? Do you set time aside for that? Or is it something that just kind of happens organically for you when you have time?
It's kind of organically, or when I'm putting together the posts for the trip that I'm gonna put on Instagram or on TikTok, I kind of just grab all the pictures and put them in a folder. For example, for our trip that would be Coba 2023,
Yes.
and kind of just I have that folder of those pictures, and I can go back and just look at that folder and just like a album, instead of just flipping the pages. Now it's just, sliding through the pictures and looking at them and bringing back
Yes.
the feeling of that
Yes.
trip.
Yeah.
And and certain pictures even bring back the smells of
Mhm.
the trip.
Yes. One of the reasons, or one of the things that I have really realized anew, is how our five senses, our sense of sight and smell and touch and taste and hearing, sound, that if we, when I choose to access in where I am using all five of those senses. Now, for me, two or three of those senses are ones that I'm using all the time that are my typical access in. But when I use the other ones that I don't typically use, that's where I find that I can move really into the moment. Whether I'm looking at a photograph, whether I happen to be thinking about something, be outside for a walk, those using all 5 of those senses can be super, super helpful. When we come back after this short commercial break, I would love for you to share what's next for you. And I might even ask before we do what's next for you, I know that you shared a little bit that you're not in the tourism industry, and yet people keep reaching out to you and you keep curating these amazing trips. And so we might have a little bit of a conversation about that when we come back.
Reiki meditations have been an incredibly powerful tool in helping me manage my stress and anxiety. As someone who is constantly on the go, I tend to find myself easily overwhelmed and consumed in thought. By spending a few minutes with myself each day practicing these meditations, I'm able to find peace, clarity, and focus into my day. Sarah's guidance, instruction, and technique have continued to help me build on the effectiveness of these meditations. I am so grateful that I have such a powerful tool to use in helping manage my stress.
And so it was through learning the principles and practices of Reiki that I was able to, for the first time in my life, regulate my nervous system on my own. Reiki can be a protocol that significantly decreases the pain that someone is experiencing in their body. So I'm incredibly grateful to Sarah Stockham for being a teacher in our community and introducing this beautiful medicine to so many people.
I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm excited to offer approved continuing education through Effective Reiki Methods Level 1 and 2 course to dentists practicing in America. With over a decade of teaching Reiki to medical doctors, coaches, PhDs, psychologists, and law students, I know you will find learning Reiki applicable to your business or line of work, and also personally. The National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine shares Reiki is a complementary health practice in which practitioners place their hands lightly on or just above the person with the goal of facilitating the person's own healing response. Reiki, because it is healing energy, can be done in person or at a distance and is effectively used to increase a sense of calm and reduce anxiety in hospitals, like the internationally renowned hospital in Pasadena, California. This foundational, effective Reiki method course covers levels 1 and 2, the how-to of both in-person Reiki and distance Reiki, plus best practices. Once you have successfully completed the Effective Reiki Method Level 1 and 2 course, you can also request continuing education credits that come from CE Approved, which is an approved AGD PACE provider.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
And we're back. We're having a conversation with Delmy Mungia, who is a very successful businesswoman. And she has discovered over the past few years, as people were asking her to begin to curate trips, that she has this incredible connection to the Yucatan, to Coba, to different areas with archaeological sites, meeting different people that she didn't know in her childhood and yet who have become so impactful in her life at this point. And so we're going to bring her back. And as we're having this conversation, Delmy, I know that you have said before, and I've heard you say this actually many times, that you're not in the tourism industry, and yet you keep putting together these truly life-changing opportunities for people to go visit a place that is very pristine, that is very, very quiet, that gives people an opportunity to listen internally and to be able to see things through different eyes, learning. My language is English, and yes, I've learned other languages along the way, but I need translators, but I don't speak Mayan, I don't speak Spanish. And so that there are people who are gifted in those that keep showing up and doing those kinds of processes and things, so that as we are going to these different places, that everybody feels like that they are able to access the information and then have time to be able to process it in ways that work for them. So even though you're not curating trips, how is this working into your life as a very, very busy businesswoman?
Well, for these trips for me are a time to reset, recharge, and to learn and grow in my spiritual path and this spiritual journey that I'm on. And as I'm taking these trips and I'm, just I'm just thinking, just making a simple post. Now I'm being asked, what are you doing? Where are you going? Where is this place? Does this place even exist? And so can we go and can we see it as well? And when we know that somebody's going in the area, we suggest it for them, or we'll tell them, give us a day, let us plan something for you. And then they're wowed. And so as I've been doing this now, I'm bringing people along on what I do, on where I go to recharge and reset.
And I think that idea, that concept of recharging and resetting is so valuable. It doesn't matter if you own a business, if you're working in a business, if you're an educator, if you are in ministry, it doesn't matter. I really believe that we need to have time that we set aside for ourselves. And maybe as a caregiver, maybe somebody is only able to put aside 15 minutes a day where they just put their phone down. And that's their 15 minutes a day for them just to be able to listen internally. And maybe you have time to be able to go for long walks and do those kinds of things as well, things that rejuvenate for you. But I really believe that when you calendar out a year or calendar out a month, that there needs to be time inside of that is for reflection, that is for just refreshment, just for you. And so I know that you and Philip have been going down for years, and that you've been taking your kids going down as well. And now that you're curating trips, that your kiddos, who are all adults, are having a different opportunity to look at this and see it from different eyes, right? Because we keep coming back being so impacted by these different pieces and these different things. Mm-hmm. I know that something that is helpful to people who are working in areas that are pristine still is for them to have land to be able to work on, land to be able to do the things that they are doing. And so when we go to a Helios place, it's not just land. It's not just that he's sharing the gardens with us. Helio was also asked a number of years ago by the Queen of England. She was looking for somebody to come and spend 2 weeks in England. And it was a very, very specific list of things that the person needed to be. Helio, unbeknownst to himself, fit every single one of those boxes. Happened like you. You've just been going down to Kobai, going down and visiting, right? He goes down to the water, he goes down to the ocean and is doing ceremony at the beach. And somebody comes up to him and begins asking him questions, and he begins answering, and to find out that he is the person for them to go and spend the 2 weeks on this full So when you go into this place, the first thing that happens is you come onto Helio's land is what would have happened hundreds of years ago, that your life is blessed, that your work is blessed, that your heart is blessed. And then you go into a traditional Mayan hut, is what I would call it. And in there, he has beautiful workings. But one of the things that really took me back the first time that we walked in was the Mayan calendar. Now, as an educator, we've been talking to kiddos about Mayan calendars and Gregorian calendars, all the different kinds, right? But here is somebody who, in the month of January, sits and creates the entire, in a circle, the entire calendar for the entire year, and is able, I mean, he told us when we were there days ahead, we said, what's it going to be like when we go to Chichen Itza? And he said, it's going to be kind of a cloudy day. And I said, yeah, the sun's going to come and it's going to burn it off. It did for a hot second, but it was a very cloudy day before the storm came in, right? I mean, this ancient wisdom that I don't understand how he would know. He's not using technology to be able to, what we consider technology, to be able to access this. And yet, he's able to put it down, carve it into wood, and there it is waiting for us to be able to come and he can share and tell the ways. Also on his property are bees. I would love for you to share about how special these honeybees are, Delmy.
So the bees that he's taking care of are stingless bees. They don't have a stinger. They're called Malipona bees, and they're on the verge of being extinct. And they are they're only found in that region. So these bees are making this beautiful honey.
Yes.
And Helio, they normally, go into the little logs, and in the process of Helio that's been, doing this process of trying to save the bees, he's learned that putting them in these little boxes is better for them than in a log. And he's able to keep them very well organized and take care of them in this beautiful sanctuary that he's made for them. And even to the fact that there's water all around, and the water is just to keep the critters out and the ants out from coming in and getting the honey and getting the bees. And just these little details that go into it, and the washing of our hands before we enter, and the reverence of washing our hands and not bringing anything into their little sanctuary. It's just something so beautiful. And as part of preserving it and watching it, him being able to continue this work, he sells the honey that he's able to draw from it. And it's not a lot of honey, because these bees don't produce a lot of honey. So just for us, $5 might not be a lot, but for them, their a little $5 jar does go, those $5 goes a lot further there for them. So yeah, it's just beautiful what he's doing and preserving these bees that don't have a stinger. We're able to put our hand in the hive and just hover our hand over and listen to the humming and the singing of the bees. And Helio comes in with the syringe and is able to pull out some of the honey and put it in the palm of our hands for us to taste. And we can, as he pulls the different boxes, we can taste the different flavors, because the bees go to different flowers, and it produces the different flavors of the honey. And you think, oh, they're all coming to the same place, but they all taste so different. And this is something that Helio and his family is conserving and trying to keep alive.
I love when we wash our hands, we're not using soap, where you're using the traditional Mayan leaves that help to sanitize our hands as we go in. And then there was a guitar in there where he or one of his sons will go in and they sing to the bees. I just think that's such an incredible gift of this, just being able to live on the land and be able to be that one with what's taking place, taking care of Mother Earth. What I also really appreciated was as we went into it, my grandfather had honeybees outside of the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee. And there was a good distance between each of the beehives that he had. And yes, every single bee knew which hive was theirs and they wouldn't go to the wrong one. But what was so unique for me about walking into Helios beehive sanctuary, there was over 150 beehives in this space. And there may have been 3 to 6 inches between the hives, side by side, around 3, maybe even on the 4th wall, that the door that came in. And then there were multiple layers as well of them, easily ventilated, so that nothing was closed off. The bees could come through the slats and that's how a typical Mayan house is built, is that there is space for the airflow to be able to happen. And I just found such joy in this quiet place of these bees and what they were doing and how happy they were to be together and yet separate, to doing their thing. And the singing that went along with it as we were having conversations with the family. And later on, I heard somebody pick up the guitar and start singing to the bees. And I just thought how wonderful, even though we were on property, that they were still watching over the bees, still caring for the bees, and knowing that other people were caring for us and taking care of us. And again, weaving these into the things that we do as business people, that yes, when somebody's being taken care of up front or wherever, to be able to make sure that all of the other pieces that create not only the ambiance, but the space, the spiritualness of that space is being looked after and loved on and taken care of as well. So Delmy, as you are processing this, what's next for you? I know that you and your brother have this incredible company that you guys distribute all kinds of different things, and it's grown and changed over the years. We're thinking about your 9-to-5 job that you've been doing, as you said, for about 22 years, because youngest is about 23 years old. What do you see as being next for you inside of that company?
First, remember that guitar was made out of an armadillo. It wasn't just a regular guitar.
You're right.
It was an armadillo. And for most, yeah. So for me, I'm enjoying putting these trips curating these trips, and I don't know, maybe these trips are something that I will transition into. I see them coming more often now, and I'm open to what's to come. I'm open to the possibilities and the opportunities that are coming through these trips. So I'm very excited, and I'm very happy to keep taking these special people that keep coming to me that want to learn about the area and these special gifts, these hidden treasures that are there.
Yes. And I think that there are also hidden treasures where people live, no matter where they live, even in a great big city. I know that in New York, people have been talking about how can we take our terraces and put things on there so that the bees can come there, or how can we be putting boxes so that the falcons will have a place to live here in downtown Los Angeles. People are looking for ways to be able to create these hidden places, these gems, these things where we are caring for the world, even though we are living inside of cities potentially for many, many people. And I know that during the time that we were all at home for a period of time a few years ago, that gave a number of us an opportunity to start looking internally and really asking some questions of what is important to us. And I think as we are beginning to become busier, I think it's really important for us to still be coming back to those places and times of reconnecting in with ourselves, reconnecting in with our loves. How are we? How are we doing together? How are the pieces fitting now that life is beginning to go a little bit faster? And I really appreciate you talking about how you're seeing going down to these incredible places as being something that might be happening a little bit more frequently for you. And yes, keeping the day job going, but also then continuing to make this other available for other people. And inside of that, I think opens up for our listening audience the opportunity to think about where they are and what they're doing. And then what is it that they have been putting their toes into recently over the last few years, and possibly things that bring them such deep joy. And what does it look to be able to be of service in that way? What does it look like to be able to build visions for other people, for what their life could look like in these spaces of being able to breathe more deeply, be a little bit perhaps more settled in terms of the next step forward. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have a conversation about what is happening in this process of us going down and how it's changing our lives for the better. I was having a conversation last night with a dear friend of mine. We've been walking life together. Our girls were in 7th or 8th grade when we met. And so it has been a chunk of years, about a decade, I think, that we've been walking life together. And as she talked about the fullness of her life, and she talked about having these spaces of having healing time, having quiet spaces, having time to be in conversation with other people and meaningful conversations, that helps her roots to go deeply so that she's able to give out of the bounty of that. And so as I bring Delmy back into our conversation that we're having today, I just would love for you, Delmy, to share a little bit, if you're willing, about how these trips have impacted your life as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a mother, as a member of a larger community that is interested in helping to preserve and encourage the ancient ways.
Well, for me, I feel so honored that I've been able to meet Ihilio and Amaya and what they're trying to do there and help them with their dream and their vision. And and sometimes it's just little things that we do and little ways that we can contribute to help them. And Philip and I find it very fulfilling to be able to, sometimes, the small little gifts even that we take them, things that we take for granted. It's, we just take a little bag of stuff and of items and it's like for Christmas for them, so we don't realize how important these little things are until we see their reaction, and how something so simple can be something so big. So
That
yes,
is,
just bringing these groups together and helping, just helping them see this as well, um, helping them see that our our busyness and our, you know, taking for granted of just being able to order something on Amazon. Amazon's not reaching them yet. So yeah, so it's just seeing that smile on their face when we bring these little gifts to them.
I absolutely agree with that. And I'm also going to share your Instagram. So if people want to come and join and see these incredible pictures and the different things that you are putting out there for the world to see. I know that for myself, the opportunity to be able to see life from a different perspective has been such a powerful piece for me. And I know that when we came back from that first trip, my husband talking about how peaceful he felt, just having been, having walked, having seen, having had conversations. I think that for me, part of that, just dining together, having breakfast together, and finishing the day together with dinner, having those conversations is such an important piece in being able to have conversations about who we are and what's important to us and how we see things and how things move together for us. Delmy, do you have final thoughts that you would like to share before we finish up today?
Just, I encourage anybody that's out there that just to take the moment to just reset and recharge. And it's just so important in this busy time that we're in. And just take the moment, just take the, even if it is just a few minutes at home, just to take a deep breath and appreciate and be grateful for what we have.
Do you have a gratitude practice where you journal about it or have conversations with people about it on a regular basis? Or what's your gratitude practice look like, Delmy?
At the end of the day, just when I lay down, it's just thankful for today. It doesn't matter which way it went. Just thank you for being grateful for today. And in the
Yes.
morning, just being grateful for the opportunities and just for the day that's to come, that the sun came up and that, well, it's been cloudy, but
Yes, it
but
has been.
just grateful and thankful, and just starting and ending the day with that.
Yes. And I think also for myself, I have a journaling practice that I will come and go with. There are a few things that are very stable in my life in terms of that it's important for me to start a morning with a quiet time. It's important for me. There are pieces like that pretty much even when I'm traveling, I'm trying to put those pieces in place. However, there are other pieces in my life that are not as woven in. And yes, the practice of gratitude is woven in at some point during the day, whether it happens to be with prayers or in conversations with people. But it's not necessarily the same all of the time, but yet having that heart to be open. And I'm also going to invite people, if you have the opportunity to go to a authentically led cacao ceremony, and perhaps it would be a cacao share by somebody who is not trained how to do it, but wants to do something along those lines. That space of the cacao coming from the Mayan people and opening up the heart, just being intentional about having that space of, I want to have an open heart. And yes, a guarded heart, we don't want to be silly about this, right? But we still want to be in a place that our hearts are open so that we can be seeing and receiving the amazing things that are happening around us. Delmy, I want to thank you so much for your time and your heart in sharing and coming on to Simply Sarah and talking about these trips that you are curating that are truly life-changing for people. Thank you so much, friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.